This is part 1 in a 7-part examination of the fires that destroyed Lahaina Maui on August 8, 2023. It seems that much deliberate effort went into cutting off both public and press access to the aftermath of the Lahaina fires. We will see in additional portions of this overview of events during that disaster, roads being cleared with heavy equipment, despite the fact that, as reported by observers on the ground, bodies littered the roadways all over the area. Thanks to early drone video, we will see the actual damage to structures before the scene may have been modified to mask that damage. Finally, as an insult to the residents, we will also observe water trucks washing the roads down, even though just hours before, there was none to fight the actual fires. Since so many references have been made to directed energy technology, causing all or part of what occurred that day, we will deal with this subject immediately, so as to be able to understand some of the damage that occurred to the infrastructure of Lahaina that a natural fire has no capability to accomplish. The purpose of this segment is to bring to the viewer's attention technology which is already in operation, and which has the capability to destroy a target, whether in space, in the air, on the water, or on the ground. These technologies have such designations as HARP, lasers, weather modification, and scalar waves. Their capabilities include the ability to create nuclear-like destruction, produce earthquakes, create and intensify hurricanes or tidal waves, cause intense heat or instant freezing, thus killing all life over many miles. Other effects will be discussed later. The first directed energy technology we will examine is called HARP, which stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, which researches the ionosphere, the highest ionized part of Earth's atmosphere. Built in 1993 and operational until 2015, when ownership of the facility was transferred to the University of Alaska Fairbanks in August of that year. Not only is it still functional today, but also other so-called ionospheric-type heating facilities have been constructed throughout the world in the interim. It is interesting to note that the current facility in Alaska lacks the range to be used in regions like the Middle East, according to one of the researchers involved, but the technology could be put on a mobile platform. What must be understood is that the facility and research at this site was a test bed to develop a workable procedure. Once achieved, all the hardware was transferred to a quasi-civilian entity for safekeeping. Nikola Tesla, a genius ahead of his time, once stated that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Science has shown us that everything has its own unique frequency, including our own bodies and brains. The technology known as HARP uses specific frequencies to heat the atmosphere, and has both requirements and capabilities. First, a zone of ionized air is required. Once this zone is located, like the ionosphere, it can be heated utilizing various frequencies, and certain visible effects will manifest themselves. Information that has been gathered relative to its capabilities include the following. 3 different modes are available in order to paint effects, using a canvas of ionized air: amplitude modulation, beam painting, and geometric modulation. In essence, what the operator has access to, via a computer-controlled, large array of individual heaters, are commands, akin to a computer paint program, that can draw points, lines, circles, ellipses, squares, etc. There are also some additional very enhanced capabilities. In a 2010 news article, by a researcher's own admission, the HARP technology was, and I quote, able to create sections of artificial plasma upon which 3D holographic imagery could be projected. This included such things as fleets of spaceships or celestial figures like angels. One only need to observe some of the odd things currently being seen and recorded in the sky. Uploaded on YouTube or TikTok, one may see a wide array of potential results of ongoing use and research of directed energy devices such as HARP technology. Before we misinterpret what is happening worldwide as the second coming and end of all things, is there any way to illustrate the presence of this technology in our skies? It is amazing, sometimes, how the universe gives us the tools to understand our reality. The weather has always been a focal point for me, probably because much of my life has been spent outdoors. Many of my activities were affected by good versus bad weather. So a reliance on radar returns has been one of the tools utilized throughout the years. It did not take me long, however, to notice odd geometry occurring in some of the developing storms that moved through a particular area. Most radar returns showing the anomalies consisted of straight-line eruptions that would usually approach a developing weather cell from the west. After striking the cell, that area seemed to gain more strength, thus making it stronger than before. These events were eventually filtered out of the evening's weather graphics. But every so often, short remnants of the effect can be seen if one is attentive. It was with some surprise, as my research into the Lahaina fires progressed, that during that event, geometric radar formations were located in and over the area. At first it was an almost perfectly circular area. Later, in examining other areas, other complex forms were located. All of them resembled exactly the types of patterns covered previously that were capabilities of the HARP technology. The images are crops of areas denoted as producing some sort of radar return. They were generated by an online program called Ventusky. It is possible that such patterns are routinely captured but filtered out of released images of developing weather patterns. Or, the program uses a slightly different type of radar frequency and detects electromagnetic signatures within the clouds that we cannot normally see. Here are a few examples. With the use of the program Ventusky, we continually see formations identified by HARP researchers as being applications available in their toolbox of capabilities. First is a right-angled zone which will need smoothing to hide its true character. Next, a perfectly circular area and possibly two ellipses. Next is an overall sawtooth area with additional indications of further alteration in progress inside the linear enclosure. Another, a more enlarged image, shows the internal view of the unfolding process as the operator constructs the final design. Once completed, some weather radar returns will capture the existence of these creations in the atmosphere and be deemed as anomalies or computer glitches, like these two from Mexico. Then there are some bizarre radar images captured over Australia. The final product, once constructed and launched at a particular target area, may be visible as square or round openings in the clouds. Actual square or rectangular clouds have been observed. And finally, we have a three-dimensional event over Norway that will be deemed a rocket launch gone awry. What has been presented here is but the tip of an iceberg of similar patterns that can be seen worldwide. Many precede disasters caused by hurricanes, earthquakes, droughts, fires, or unusually cold weather or snowstorms. Add to the mix mysterious sounds which seem to emanate from the sky, or images of angels or buildings that appear overhead. When one mentions HARP technology, the hue and cry becomes conspiracy theory. Nothing to see here, just some person in a tin-foil hat. Not only is this technology real, it has been in existence for quite some time, and has been improved and utilized during that period. This first segment, in our ongoing examination of directed energy technology, concerns what is known as active denial. Researched and developed by Raytheon, made militarily operational in 2004, and possibly tested in Iraq and Afghanistan, the truck-mounted system can shoot an invisible beam of energy at subjects. The millimeter waves engage the subject, penetrating the skin to a depth of about 1/64th of an inch. This effect produces an intolerable heating sensation, compelling the targeted individual to instinctively move. It ceases immediately once the individual moves out of the beam, or when the operator turns off the system. ADS was developed under the sponsorship of the Department of Defense Non-Lethal Weapons Program, with the Air Force Research Laboratory as the lead agency. It works by firing a high-powered, 100 kilowatts output power beam of 95 GHz waves at a target, which corresponds to a wavelength of 3.2 millimeters. This wave energy works on a principle similar to a microwave oven, exciting the water and fat molecules in the skin, and instantly heating them, using dielectric heating. One significant difference is that a microwave oven uses the much lower frequency and longer wavelength of 2.45 GHz. The short millimeter waves used in ADS only penetrate the top layers of skin, with most of the energy being absorbed within 1/64 inch, whereas microwaves will penetrate into human tissue a little over half an inch. Although touted as absolutely safe for use against humans, and presumably other life forms, the early methodology of testing, in which volunteers were asked to remove glasses, contact lenses, and metallic objects that could cause hot spots, raised concerns as to whether the device would remain true to its purpose of non-lethal temporary incapacitation, if used in the field where safety precautions would not be taken. Remember that effect on metal, since it may be germane to our overall search for the cause of the Lahaina fires. As indicated in the previous graphic, the heart of the active denial system, whether truck-mounted or delivered in a container-type configuration, remains the same. It is a device that has been around for some time, and has been utilized for its flexibility and capabilities. Those capabilities include a wide range of application effects, from inflicting mild discomfort to actual and total destruction of a target, be it human or structure. Although not addressed in this breakdown on beam properties, one capability stands out. That capability is its effect, and I quote, of heating of non-metallic materials to hundreds and thousands of degrees in 1 second. Let me say that again. 1 second. All one would need, in this case, is to change the frequency downward by half and decrease the size of the wave, and this particular truck-mounted system could cook human flesh to a depth of much more than 1/64 of an inch. The potential depth would be about 20/64 of an inch, and that effect would be lethal. The gyrotron beam is a new, efficient source of energy. Its high frequency and high energy concentration, combined with the microwave nature of this novel product, results in an energy source with unique properties, different from any other. So goes the introduction to its capabilities. The device can access many frequencies, with more being added every day. Originally described as operating within the range of 30 to 300 GHz, in 2005 at a Japanese facility, a frequency of 1013 GHz was achieved. 3 other frequencies, 170 GHz, 137 GHz, and 104 GHz have also been used. It appears that if one can generate the frequency, this device can handle it and produce an effect. One such effect is to be able to heat plasma from 300 feet away, and is in the terahertz range. Our next technology is the field of lasers. Lasers have been around almost forever, and over many years since their introduction in physics circa 1965, have been improved and weaponized. Do not listen to those that say they are only small-scale and in the laboratories still being developed. They are everywhere, mounted on naval vessels, on Air Force flight assets, and on other military equipment, including satellites. That's the reality of our world at the moment. One such application is germane to our inquiry, and that is a laser-mounted helicopter. The feasibility of equipping a helicopter with a weaponized laser device was first tested 6 years ago, in 2017. Developed by longtime defense contractor Raytheon, the device is contained within a cylindrical housing, usually seen attached to the left side of the aircraft. Cables connected to the interior electronics console provide operator access for aiming and fire control of the device. The test was accomplished successfully at White Sands Proving Grounds, New Mexico. Based upon the success of its operation on this test bed, the device has been mounted on various aerial assets such as in the graphic you see here. This particular technology is of interest to us since one of these aircraft was spotted in the skies over Lahaina on the Thursday the 10th of August. Notice the standard configuration of the pancake-shaped object just underneath the pilot's area with the familiar tube-like structure on the left side of the aircraft. No official intervention by military aerial assets, assisting any search and rescue effort occurred until Saturday the 12th according to this blog announcement by the participating Coast Guard unit. Let us examine just how powerful these devices can be, and the damage they can inflict.
Lasers? Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts.
the world's first airborne directed energy weapon, the airborne laser, also known as the ABL. Just mounting the ABL requires one of the most sophisticated and elaborate modifications in history. The entire nose section is removed and retrofitted, and the world's largest titanium plate is installed to hold the enormous turret-mounted laser in place. The ABL system is designed to find, track, and destroy an enemy target in the air and on the ground. It can loiter at 40,000 feet for 5 hours, refuel in mid-air.
This next application is one of the many ways this technology can utilize radio frequencies as a powerful and directed force. The project known as CHAMP can attack electronic or electrical assets on the ground and immediately disable them from operating.
Though we can't show actual images of the CHAMP or Counter-Electronics High-Powered Microwave Advanced Missile Project, this animation shows a simulated weapon flying over selected targets, hitting them with high-power radio wave bursts and defeating their electrical and data systems without causing injury or collateral damage. But it was no simulation Tuesday over the Utah Test and Training Range, where Boeing and the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory's Directed Energy Directorate successfully flew the first fully operational CHAMP weapon.
We hit every target we wanted to. We prosecuted everyone. Today we made science fiction science fact.
This video, recorded during an earlier test, shows what CHAMP is capable of. Watch the computer screens in this office as the directed energy hits the building. While the computers were knocked out, there is no structural damage. Fade to black.
When that computer went out, when we fired, it actually took out the cameras as well. We took out everything on that. It was fantastic.
Excellent team. I mean, like I said, the reason we are successful is due to the team and the team effort.
A non-lethal weapon that can defeat targets without collateral damage is an idea that's been portrayed in television and film for decades. But this, says AFRL CHAMP lead test engineer Peter Finlay, is no movie.
We're not quite up to the place where the Star Trek and Star Wars movies are, but this is definitely an advancement in technology to be able to give us an opportunity to do things that we couldn't do before.
Could this technology have been utilized over Lahaina on that Tuesday morning to incapacitate telephone operation, reducing it to its most elemental form, that being only able to process 911 calls, but only sporadically? Did it thwart the best disaster warning system in the world, the sirens throughout Maui? Did it interrupt the normal access that cell phones have in locating the nearest tower and establishing a communication link, as was reported by one resident, who described both his phone and tablet as inoperable on the 8th? Did it have anything to do with the loss of electrical power on that day? The fact is that all these technologies that we have covered so far do indeed exist. If there is still doubt in your mind, just look at the amount of money that has been spent on research and development. It would not take much effort to transfer such device capabilities, perhaps somewhat scaled down, to civilian-type vehicles for stealth operations on the ground. Perhaps the most scary and most destructive of all the directed energy technology is the field of scalar weapons. Its effect is as a pressure wave that carries tremendous energies. As indicated previously, the use of this power can create intense heat, like a burning fireball over a wide area. The opposite can also be accomplished by freezing and killing all life within a targeted area. The result is akin to nuclear-like destruction, or more commonly called dustification. It can create or strengthen both tropical depressions and low-grade hurricanes, and tidal waves, and even cause earthquakes. It can remove something out of its place, in time and space, faster than the speed of light and without any detectable warning. This additional tool of destruction is accomplished by crossing two or more beams with each other, of specific frequencies. One of its characteristics is that at the site of the intersection, or more clearly, target area, a sound will be heard. That sound is caused by either an explosion, or by an implosion, depending on the desired effect. There were many sounds that were heard during the Lahaina fires and which were interpreted as being explosions. These sounds were blamed upon exploding LP tanks that many residents utilized for cooking. Yet gas companies are somewhat adamant in stating that this effect almost never happens due to safety valves built into the tanks. Indeed, there is ample evidence to show that many LP tanks were seen in the rubble, albeit burned and blackened, but intact nonetheless. It was interesting to note that FEMA, in its effort to clean up the area, singled out these tanks for removal. Not one, in all the images currently available, show that the tank had ruptured. One would think, therefore, that the higher number of unexploded LP tanks, the less likely they were the cause of the sounds. It also gives credence to the possibility that the entire area being off limits was an effort to remove certain items for some reason. Emerging from World War II, and considering the defense industrial complex that had been constructed, the United States enjoyed a classified program that had created and produced technology that was at least 50 years in advance of anything visible in the public arena. Today, with the advent of trillions of dollars, supercomputers, and AI, the technology in the background could be hundreds of years in advance. So in review, these directed energy devices have established the capability to accomplish various forms of damage at the speed of light. Those capabilities include the following: 1. By microwave, heat or destroy human or animal flesh, thus destroying all life forms. 2. By radio frequencies, disabling anything electrical, to include anything that produces it, anything that distributes it, or anything connected to it. 3. By laser igniting fires, either directly burning a combustible material, like tall grass, or actually completely destroying a target by full power. 4. By gyrotron, immediately heating appropriate materials to thousands of degrees, thus igniting all other contents with lower flash points. 5. Augmenting developing storms with trillion-watt lasers to strengthen their destructive power. 6. By scalar wave, produce an actual unseen force that can impact structures and damage or destroy them. Remember this information when we examine the physical damage that was visible immediately following the event on the 8th of August. This concludes our short review of directed energy technology that is currently available and is in use by various entities around the world. But before we move on to the next part, here is a short video of the type of power these devices can have. It appears to be the sea-based radar platform SBX-1 in operation. Real or fake? Is the sound familiar?